The last seat, the warning lights of Titan Station pulsed red against the metallic walls as Marcus Chun clutched his daughter closer to his chest. Luna's small body trembled with fever, her pale skin glistening with sweat despite the station's controlled climate. The 3-year-old had been fighting the same genetic condition that claimed her mother 2 years ago, and now Marcus was running out of time. Next transport to Mars colony leaves in 30 minutes, announced the station's automated system. All passengers with confirmed tickets, please proceed to docking bay 7. Marcus looked down at the crumpled boarding pass in his sweaty palm. Just one ticket, one seat on the last transport for 3 weeks. He had sold everything he owned to buy passage home to Mars, where Luna could receive the specialized treatment she desperately needed. The irony wasn't lost on him that as a maintenance engineer he had spent years keeping ships running, yet couldn't afford a proper cabin on one that the boarding area buzzed with activity as hundreds of beings from across the galaxy prepared for departure. Humans mixed with the tall, blue-skinned Altarians, while spider-like Nexari skittered between the crowds on their 8 legs. The diversity should have been fascinating, but Marcus only had eyes for the transport officer at the gate. "Excuse me." Marcus approached the desk, Luna's weight making his arms ache. "I have a ticket, but I need to know about lap policies for children." The transport officer, a middle-aged human woman with tired eyes, looked up from her holographic display. Behind her, massive viewing windows showed the sleek passenger transport, its hull gleaming silver against the backdrop of Saturn's rings. The ship was enormous, capable of carrying over 2,000 passengers, yet Marcus knew that didn't guarantee him the help he needed. "Children under 5 can sit on a parent's lap in economy class," she said, then looked more closely at Luna. "Is your daughter feeling all right?" "She has a rare genetic condition," Marcus explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're heading to Mars for treatment. This is the last transport for weeks, and He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. The officer's expression softened. "I understand. Let me check what options we have." Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, data streams flowing like liquid light. After several long minutes, she shook her head. "I'm sorry. Economy class is completely full. The best I can do is confirm your single seat. Your daughter can sit on your lap, but it's going to be a difficult 18-hour journey." Marcus nodded grimly. 18 hours in a cramped economy seat while holding a sick child wasn't ideal, but it was their only chance. "We'll manage." As he turned toward the boarding queue, a commotion near the first-class section caught his attention. A group of Kethmori guards, their reptilian features hidden behind ceremonial masks, formed a protective circle around a figure in flowing robes. Marcus had never seen a Kethmori in person, but their reputation preceded them. They were one of the oldest spacefaring races, with an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. The central figure moved with regal grace, her silver robes shimmering with embedded circuits that pulsed with soft blue light. Though her face was partially concealed by an ornate crown that seemed to float above her head, Marcus could see the distinctive purple skin and luminous golden eyes of Kethmori royalty. This was no ordinary passenger. "Empress Zarathel has arrived," whispered someone behind Marcus. "I heard she's returning from the Galactic Council meetings on Europa." Marcus had heard of Empress Zarathel. She was rumored to be one of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy, controlling trade routes that connected dozens of worlds. What she was doing on a civilian transport instead of her own royal fleet was anyone's guess. The boarding process began, with first-class passengers entering through a separate, luxurious gateway that extended directly to the ship's premium sections. Marcus watched as the Empress and her entourage glided aboard, their movements silent and efficient. Then came business class, their passengers chatting excitedly about their destinations and business ventures. Finally, economy class began boarding. Marcus joined the long line of families, workers, and refugees, all seeking passage to Mars colony for their own reasons. Luna stirred in his arms, her fever-bright eyes opening briefly. "Daddy, are we going home now?" she asked in a voice so small it broke his heart. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going home to get you better." He kissed her forehead, feeling the heat radiating from her skin. The medication he'd been giving her was nearly gone, and without the advanced medical facilities on Mars, he would lose her, just like he lost her mother. The queue moved slowly as passengers struggled with luggage and found their assigned seats. When Marcus finally reached the transport officer checking tickets, she gave him a sympathetic look. "Seat 47G," she said. "That's toward the back of economy. The medical bay is on deck 3 if you need anything during the flight." Marcus nodded his thanks and stepped aboard the transport. The contrast between the luxury section and economy was stark. While first-class passengers enjoyed spacious suites with personal attendants, economy was packed with rows of basic seats, each barely wide enough for an adult human. The air recycling system worked overtime to handle the mix of atmospheric preferences for different species, creating a slightly stale environment that would only get worse during the long journey. He found his seat and carefully settled Luna on his lap. She was so light now, having lost weight as her condition worsened. The medication that had kept her stable was expensive and hard to obtain, especially for someone of Marcus's limited means. The doctors on Mars had warned him that delays in treatment could be fatal. As the transport prepared for departure, Marcus noticed unusual activity in the first-class section. Through the transparent partition, he could see crew members rushing back and forth, their expressions tense. A human steward approached the economy section and began speaking quietly with the head flight attendant. "Ladies and gentlemen," came an announcement over the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Torres. We're experiencing a minor delay due to a diplomatic protocol issue. We should be underway shortly." Marcus frowned. Diplomatic protocol? He watched as more crew members gathered near the first-class section, their hushed conversations creating an atmosphere of anticipation. Luna shifted restlessly in his arms, her breathing becoming more labored. "It's okay, baby," he whispered, gently stroking her hair. "We'll be flying soon." Suddenly, the first-class partition door opened with a soft hiss. One of the Kethmori guards stepped through, his imposing figure drawing stares from the economy passengers. Behind him came a figure that made everyone fall silent. Empress Zarathel moved through the economy section with the same grace she had shown in the boarding area, but now Marcus could see her more clearly. Her purple skin had an almost luminescent quality, and her golden eyes seemed to take in everything at once. The floating crown above her head pulsed with soft light, and her silver robes adjusted automatically to accommodate the narrower aisles. She stopped directly beside Marcus's row, her golden gaze falling on Luna. For a moment, time seemed frozen. The other passengers watched in stunned silence as one of the galaxy's most powerful rulers studied a sick human child. "Your daughter is ill," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that was characteristic of the Kethmori. It wasn't a question. Marcus nodded, unsure how to respond to royalty. "Yes, Your Majesty. We're traveling to Mars for medical treatment." The Empress continued to study Luna, who had opened her eyes and was staring back with the fearless curiosity of a child. "What is her condition?" "It's a genetic disorder called Varian syndrome," Marcus explained. "It affects the body's ability to process certain proteins. Without treatment, it's—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Empress Zarathel's expression changed, a shadow passing over her luminous features. She turned to the head flight attendant who had approached nervously. "This passenger and his child will be relocated to the royal suite," she announced, her tone leaving no room for argument. The flight attendant's eyes widened. "Your Majesty, I'm not sure that's—" "It is not a request," the Empress said firmly. "See that they are moved immediately and given access to the medical facilities." Marcus felt his mouth fall open. "Your Majesty, I couldn't possibly." "You can, and you will." She looked directly at him, and for a moment he saw something in her golden eyes that looked like old pain. A child's life is worth more than protocol. The next few minutes passed in a blur. Crew members helped Marcus gather his few belongings while the Empress waited patiently. Other economy passengers watched in amazement as a human maintenance worker and his sick daughter were escorted to the most luxurious section of the ship. The royal suite was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that shifted color based on the occupant's mood, and the furniture adjusted automatically to provide perfect comfort. A medical alcove in one corner contained diagnostic equipment that looked decades ahead of anything available on most human worlds. Why? Marcus asked as the Empress gestured for him to sit on a couch that immediately molded itself to support both him and Luna. Empress Zarathel was quiet for a long moment, her gaze distant. "I once had a daughter," she said finally. "She died of a condition that could have been treated if I had acted sooner. I was too concerned with appearances, too worried about what others would think if I showed weakness." She looked at Luna, who was now sleeping peacefully in Marcus's arms. "I will not make that mistake again." As the transport finally lifted off from Titan Station, beginning its journey toward Mars, Marcus held his daughter close and wondered how a chance encounter with alien royalty might change both their lives. Outside the suite's massive viewing window, Saturn's rings sparkled like diamonds against the black of space, but Marcus's attention was focused on the Empress who had just given them hope when all seemed lost. The journey to Mars would be 18 hours, but Marcus no longer dreaded it. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to believe that Luna might actually have a future. Royal intervention. The Royal Suite's medical alcove hummed with activity as Dr. Veltana, the ship's chief medical officer, ran her scanner over Luna's small form. The Altarian physician's blue skin showed concern as she studied the readouts on her holographic display. Marcus watched nervously from the side, still unable to believe he was standing in the most luxurious quarters of the transport. "The child's protein synthesis is severely compromised," Dr. Veltana announced, her melodic voice tinged with professional concern. "Without immediate intervention, her cellular structure will continue to deteriorate." Empress Zarathel stepped closer to the medical station, her floating crown pulsing with a deeper blue light. "What can be done?" "We have access to Kethmori bioreconstruction technology," the doctor replied. "It's experimental for human physiology, but given the severity of her condition, it may be her only chance." Marcus felt his heart racing. "Is it dangerous?" Dr. Veltana turned to him with compassionate eyes. "Less dangerous than allowing her condition to progress untreated. The bioreconstruction process will essentially reprogram her cellular structure to process proteins normally. However, I must warn you that this technology has never been used on a human child before." The weight of the decision pressed down on Marcus like a physical force. Luna stirred in her sleep, her small face peaceful despite the battle raging inside her body. How could he make such a choice? But then he remembered watching his wife, Sarah, fade away from the same condition, and he knew there was really no choice at all. "Do it," he said firmly. Empress Zarathel placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You are making the right decision. Dr. Veltana is the finest physician in the Kethmori Empire." As the medical team prepared for the procedure, Marcus found himself alone with the Empress in the suite's main chamber. Through the massive viewing windows, the stars streaked past as the transport moved through hyperspace, but his attention was focused on the alien ruler, who had changed his life with a single command. "Why are you really doing this?" he asked quietly. The Empress was silent for a long moment, her luminous golden eyes reflecting the starlight. When she spoke, her voice carried centuries of pain. "My daughter's name was Zinera. She was Luna's age when she contracted the Kethmori equivalent of your daughter's condition. I had the resources to save her, but I hesitated. I worried about the political implications of using experimental treatments. I consulted with advisors, held meetings, formed committees." She turned away from the window, her silver robes shifting like liquid metal. "While I deliberated, she died. 3 days of political consideration cost me the most precious thing in the universe." Marcus felt a deep ache in his chest, recognizing the pain of a parent who had lost everything. "I'm sorry. Since that day, I have vowed that no child would die because of delay or protocol, while I have the power to prevent it." She looked toward the medical alcove where soft blue light indicated the procedure was beginning. "Your daughter will live, Marcus Chun. I will make certain of it." The transport shuddered suddenly, causing both of them to steady themselves against the furniture. Emergency lights began flashing, and Captain Torres's voice crackled over the communication system. "This is the captain. We have detected 3 unidentified vessels approaching on an intercept course. All passengers, please remain in your seats and prepare for possible evasive maneuvers." Marcus's blood ran cold. Pirates. He had heard stories of raiders attacking civilian transports in this region of space, targeting refugees and cargo haulers that couldn't defend themselves. The timing couldn't be worse, with Luna in the middle of a delicate medical procedure. "Your Majesty," came Dr. Veltana's voice from a medical alcove, "I cannot interrupt the bioreconstruction process. The child needs at least another hour for the treatment to stabilize." Empress Zarathel's expression hardened, her regal features taking on the look of a ruler who had commanded fleets in battle. "Then we make sure the ship survives the next hour." The transport shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the viewing windows, Marcus could see energy weapons fire streaking past the ship's hull. The attackers were already engaging, their smaller, more maneuverable craft darting around the transport like predators circling wounded prey. "The defense grid is not responding properly," Captain Torres announced, his voice strained. "We have partial system failures on decks 4 through 7. Marcus felt a spark of recognition. "Your Majesty, I'm a maintenance engineer. I know these ship systems. If the defense grid is malfunctioning, it might be something I can fix." The Empress studied him intently. "You would risk leaving your daughter?" "She's in the best possible hands with Dr. Veltana," Marcus replied. "But if this ship is destroyed, none of us will survive." Without hesitation, Empress Zarathel activated her personal communication device. "Captain Torres, this is the Empress. I am sending you an engineer who may be able to assist with your system failures." "Your Majesty, with respect, we don't have time for make time, Captain. This man knows these systems better than your crew." 5 minutes later, Marcus found himself in the transport's engineering section, surrounded by crew members who looked at him with mixture of skepticism and desperate hope. The chief engineer, a gruff human named Rodriguez, was covered in sweat and electrical burns from trying to repair damaged systems. "The defense grid's primary processor is fried," Rodriguez explained, showing Marcus a smoking control panel. "We've got backup systems, but they're not integrating properly with the targeting array." Marcus studied the damaged equipment, his mind racing through possible solutions. These were standard civilian transport systems, designed for efficiency rather than combat, but he had worked on similar configurations during his years maintaining cargo haulers. "The integration problem is in the power distribution," he said, tracing circuits with his finger. "The backup processors are running at different frequencies than the targeting system expects. We need to create a frequency bridge." "A what?" Rodriguez asked. Marcus was already pulling components from his toolkit, grateful that he had brought his emergency repair kit. "It's something I learned working on hybrid systems. We can use the backup life support processors as intermediaries, creating a signal bridge that will let the systems communicate." As he worked, the ship continued to shake under enemy fire. The pirates were methodically wearing down the transport shields, knowing that civilian vessels had limited defensive capabilities. But Marcus had an advantage they didn't expect: years of improvising solutions with limited resources. "There," he said, making the final connection. "Try the defense grid now." Rodriguez activated the system, and immediately the ship's external weapons came online. The transport wasn't a warship, but it had enough defensive capability to make the pirates think twice about their attack. Captain Torres's voice echoed through the engineering section. "Direct hit on the lead pirate vessel. Their attack formation is breaking up." Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before returning his attention to the damaged systems. "We need to reroute power from non-essential systems to boost the shields. The pirates will regroup and come back." Working alongside Rodriguez and the other engineers, Marcus helped implement a series of modifications that transformed the civilian transport into something approaching a combat-capable vessel. It wasn't elegant, but It was effective. Second wave incoming, Captain Torres announced. 3 more vessels approaching from starboard. This time, the transport was ready. The upgraded defense grid tracked the incoming pirates with deadly accuracy, while boosted shields absorbed their return fire. The engagement lasted only minutes before the raiders broke off, apparently deciding that this particular target was more trouble than it was worth. As the all-clear sounded throughout the ship, Marcus raced back to the royal suite, his heart pounding with worry about Luna. He found Dr. Veltana, just finishing the bioreconstruction procedure, her blue skin glowing with satisfaction. The treatment was successful, she announced. The child's cellular structure is already beginning to normalize. She will need rest and careful monitoring, but the worst is behind her. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face as he looked at his daughter, who was sleeping peacefully in the medical alcove. Her skin had lost the sickly pallor that had frightened him for months, and her breathing was steady and strong. "Thank you," he whispered to Dr. Veltana, then turned to Empress Zarathel. "Thank you both. I can never repay what you've done." The Empress smiled, the first truly joyful expression Marcus had seen from her. "You already have repaid it. Your actions saved this ship and everyone aboard. You prove that humans possess the same courage and ingenuity that made them worthy of joining the galactic community." As Marcus held Luna's small hand, feeling the strength returning to her tiny fingers, he realized that this journey had changed more than just his daughter's health. It had shown him that the universe was full of unexpected allies, and that sometimes the greatest acts of heroism came not from grand gestures, but from ordinary people doing whatever it took to protect those they loved. The transport continued its journey toward Mars, carrying with it the beginning of a friendship that would bridge the gap between species and create ripples throughout the galaxy. In the quiet of the royal suite, with his daughter breathing peacefully beside him, Marcus began to believe that their future might be brighter than he had ever dared to hope. The bridge between worlds, the gentle hum of the transport's engines, provided a soothing backdrop as Luna Chin opened her eyes for the first time in 12 hours. Marcus leaned forward from his chair beside the medical alcove, his heart racing as he watched his daughter's eyes focus clearly for the first time in months. "Daddy." Luna's voice was stronger than he had heard it in weeks. "I'm here, sweetheart." Marcus gently took her small hand, marveling at the warmth and strength he felt there. The sickly pallor that had haunted her features was gone, replaced by the healthy glow of a normal 3-year-old. Dr. Veltana approached with her scanner, her blue, Altarian features showing professional satisfaction. "Her cellular regeneration is proceeding exactly as projected. The bioreconstruction has been completely successful." Empress Zarathel stood near the viewing window, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the transparent metal. "How do you feel, little one?" Luna sat up carefully, looking around the luxurious royal suite with wide eyes. "This place is pretty. Are you a princess?" The Empress laughed, a sound like silver bells that filled the chamber with warmth. "Something like that. I am very pleased to meet you properly, Luna-chan." "Your Majesty," Dr. Veltana interjected, "there is something else we should discuss. The bioreconstruction process has had an unexpected side effect." Marcus felt his stomach clench with worry. "What kind of side effect?" "A beneficial one," the doctor assured him quickly. "The treatment has not only corrected her genetic condition, but it has also enhanced her natural immune system. She will likely be more resistant to disease than most humans for the rest of her life." Relief washed over Marcus like a physical force. Not only was Luna cured, but she would be stronger than before. He looked toward the Empress, who was watching the reunion with an expression of deep satisfaction. "There is something I wish to discuss with you, Marcus Chun," Empress Zarathel said, her tone taking on the formal quality of official business. "Your actions during the pirate attack have not gone unnoticed. You demonstrated exceptional skill and courage under pressure." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I just did what needed to be done." "Precisely. That is a quality I value highly." The Empress moved away from the window, her silver robes flowing around her like liquid starlight. I have been considering a proposal for some time, one that requires someone with both technical expertise and the ability to bridge different cultures. Before she could continue, Captain Torres's voice came over the communication system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our final approach to Mars colony. We will be docking at Port Olympia in approximately 2 hours. Mars? Home. Marcus felt a mix of emotions as he realized their journey was almost over. The last 18 hours had changed everything about his and Luna's life, and he wasn't sure he was ready to return to the ordinary world of maintenance schedules and struggling to make ends meet. What kind of proposal? He asked. Empress Zarathel activated a holographic display that showed star charts and what appeared to be architectural plans. The Kefmori Empire has been developing a network of medical research stations designed to serve multiple species. The goal is to make treatments like the one that saved your daughter available to everyone, regardless of their species or economic status. Marcus studied the holographic images, recognizing some of the technical specifications. The stations were massive undertakings, combining the most advanced medical technology from dozens of different civilizations. The challenge, the Empress continued, is that each species has different approaches to engineering and medicine. We need someone who can serve as a bridge between human ingenuity and alien technology, someone who understands that the best solutions often come from combining different perspectives. You offer me a job? Marcus asked, hardly believing what he was hearing. I am offering you a chance to ensure that no parent ever has to watch their child suffer from a treatable condition because they lack resources or access to proper medical care. The Empress's golden eyes met his directly. You would be the chief of engineering for the entire network, based on Mars, but traveling to new stations as they come online. Luna tugged at Marcus's sleeve. Daddy, what's an Empress? She's someone very important who helps lots of people, Marcus explained, his mind racing through the implications of the offer. Like a doctor? Yes, sweetheart. Very much like a doctor. Marcus looked around the royal suite, thinking about their small apartment back on Mars and his job maintaining atmospheric processors for the Colonial Authority. It was honest work, but it barely paid enough to keep them fed and housed. This opportunity would not only provide financial security, but would also give his work meaning beyond simple survival. There would be challenges. Empress Zarathel continued. You would be working with technologies far beyond current human capabilities, and some of my people would question the wisdom of placing such responsibility in human hands. And Luna would receive the finest education available anywhere in the galaxy. The research stations include facilities for the families of key personnel. The Empress smiled at Luna, who was now sitting up and looking much more like a normal, healthy child. I think she would find the experience fascinating. Dr. Veltana approached with a datapad containing Luna's complete medical records. I have prepared a full report on the bioreconstruction procedure. This information could be invaluable for treating other humans with similar conditions. Marcus accepted the datapad, understanding its significance. This wasn't just Luna's medical history, it was potentially the key to saving countless other children who suffered from genetic disorders. Your Majesty, he said slowly, I'm honored by your offer, but I need to ask why me? There must be engineers with far more experience and education. Empress Zarathel was quiet for a moment, her expression thoughtful. Do you know what I observe about you during our journey, Marcus Chin? He shook his head. When faced with an impossible situation, you did not despair or give up. When your daughter needed help, you swallowed your pride and accepted assistance from a stranger. When the ship was in danger, you risked everything to help people you barely knew. She paused, her golden eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom. These are not common qualities, and they cannot be taught in any academy. The transport began its final descent toward Mars, the red planet growing larger in the viewing windows. Marcus could see the sprawling dome cities of the colonial settlements, the atmospheric processors that made life possible on the harsh world, and the ships coming and going from the orbital stations. There's something else, the Empress added. The first medical research station is being constructed in the Mars system. You and Luna would not have to leave your home world, at least not initially. Marcus felt Luna's small hand slip into his, and he looked down to see her watching him with eyes that were bright and alert for the first time in months. She was going to live, not only live, but thrive. The question now was what kind of life he could build for both of them. "I accept," he said firmly. The Empress smiled, and Marcus noticed that several other passengers had gathered near the transparent partition separating the royal suite from the first-class section. Word of the unusual journey had spread throughout the ship, and people were curious about the human engineer who had saved the transport and earned the favor of Kethmori royalty. Among the watchers, Marcus recognized some of the economy passengers he had seen during boarding, families with children, workers heading to new jobs, refugees seeking better lives. They looked at him with expressions of hope, as if his success somehow represented possibilities for all of them. "You know," Marcus said to the Empress, "this medical network you're planning, it should be accessible to everyone, not just those who can afford it." "I was hoping you would say that," she replied. "The stations will operate on the principle that medical care is a right, not a privilege. Your engineering challenge will be to make the technology efficient enough to provide treatment at minimal cost." As the transport settled into its docking cradle at Port Olympia, Marcus held Luna close and looked out at the red Martian landscape that had been their home for 5 years. Tomorrow, their new life would begin. He would be working with alien technology beyond his current. Understanding, helping to build a network that could change the face of galactic medicine. "Daddy," Luna said softly, "is the pretty lady coming home with us?" Marcus looked at Empress Zarathel, who was gathering her ceremonial robes in preparation for departure. "No, sweetheart. She has important work to do, but I think we'll see her again soon." The Empress overheard and smiled. "Indeed you will, Luna-chan. We have much work ahead of us." As they prepared to disembark, Marcus realized that what had begun as a desperate journey to save his daughter's life had transformed into something much larger. He was no longer just a maintenance engineer struggling to survive. He was going to be part of something that could help millions of families across the galaxy avoid the pain and fear he had experienced. The bridge between worlds wasn't built of metal and circuitry, he understood now. It was built of compassion, courage, and the willingness to help others regardless of the differences between species. As he carried Luna toward their new future, Marcus Chin knew that the most important engineering project of his life was just beginning. Behind them, Empress Zarathel watched with satisfaction as father and daughter stepped into a future bright with possibility. The memory of her own lost daughter would always bring pain, but now it also brought purpose. Through Marcus and Luna, and through the medical network they would build together, her daughter's legacy would be one of healing rather than regret. The transport's passengers dispersed into Port Olympia, each carrying their own stories and dreams. But for those who had witnessed the remarkable journey, the memory would linger, a reminder that sometimes the universe conspires to bring the right people together at exactly the right moment, creating ripples of change that spread far beyond what anyone could imagine. The last seat on the transport had become the first step toward a new era of cooperation between species, proving once again that the greatest achievements often begin with the smallest acts of kindness.